ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to another exciting round of Poly Live. Today, everybody, we have a very, very wonderful treat for you on Poly Live. We have a match here between Sergeant Sub and Innofunni, both very respected players in the competitive Polytopia community. Innofunni, the current leader of the Crawfish team on Poly Champions, and at the time this video was recorded, Sergeant Sub was the leader of Team Plague on Poly Champions. Two players who have built a reputation for themselves, two players who are absolutely wonderful at this game, and they're going to go head-to-head in this format. We see that we have an Aquarion mirror right here. Checking the scoreboard. I'm not sure who is who on what side. Oh, I can tell that the right side here is Sergeant Sub because it is written in Spanish. Okay, so if we're going to look at these spawns here, we can see that it's pretty fairly even. Looking at Sergeant Sub's spawn, I see fair amount of fish and animals there, perhaps has a little more potential for leveling up with tier 1 technologies than Inno. However, Inno has currently been moving his warriors around and has found himself 2 villages, while Sergeant Sub has only found himself 1 extra village. We see here Innofunni has opened up the scoreboard in order to score count, a technique that a lot of players use in order to get a better idea of what their opponent is doing in the fog. We see that Sergeant Sub has purchased fishing, which is going to let him level up that capital. And the reason that he did that is because his second city also has fish around it, so he's going to get the most bang for his buck with that technology. Innofunni has moved on to both of his villages. Looking at his resources, he opts to go for organization. Very smart choice, especially since Aquarion also has... I don't think it's official, but I find that it has more farms in their terrain than most other tribes do. But that's just my own personal conspiracy theory on the matter. Sergeant Sub has gotten an explorer. Oh, that is unlucky. His explorer has bounced off of a mountain, but luck comes back to Sergeant Sub at the end. He does find Inno. Did not see what trade he got. Oh, he would have gotten an organization. Come on, Monlet. Get your head in the game. All right, Innofunni gets cities number 2 and 3. So currently right now we are seeing in terms of economy and in terms of the number of cities, Sergeant Sub might be a little bit lacking since Innofunni does have 3 cities that he can spawn units from and 3 cities that he can use to build up his economy. We see that that Sergeant Sub has decided to purchase riding. Probably going to opt to be a bit more aggressive because he's a smart guy and he realizes that he is outnumbered in terms of the number of cities. Innofunni very aggressively checking the scoreboard there. Okay, Sergeant Sub spawning in an amphibian, passes to Innofunni. Innofunni also opts for riding, and this is going to be interesting because Aquarion's riders function just a bit differently than I apologize, I forgot how to speak English there for a second. Function differently than most other tribes' riders. So this is going to make the 1v1 combat with Aquarion a bit more interesting. Opts to whack Sergeant Sub's warrior. Oh, Sergeant Sub moves in with the amphibian in order to get a siege on Innofunni's city. Now, Inno's absolutely going to be able to break this. No, actually, he would need roads in order to do that. So we see here, Sergeant Sub has also purchased climbing. He did that to explore, but in doing so, he has also now effectively guaranteed that his siege on Innofunni is going to hold, because even if Innofunni were to get roads, actually no, Innofunni could still pull this one out if he got roads, but I don't think he can afford it. No, he absolutely can't afford it. So that is a siege that Sergeant Sub is going to be successful in. And we see Inno is trying to think what the best route is with that amphibian, opts to kill it against Sergeant Sub's warrior in order to free up a population spot on that village, and spawns an amphibian on his capital. He is poised to reclaim that city after Sergeant Sub takes it, at which point that might be enough to change the tide of battle in Sergeant Sub's favor. Who knows? Only time will tell. All right, Sergeant Sub opts to capture the village. He has 2 stars left, and he's thinking, he's planning. He knows Inno's planning to take back that city. He's got to think a few steps ahead in order to make sure that siege holds. And Sergeant Sub has moved both of his warriors onto that mountain ridge to really block Innofunni from coming into Sergeant Sub from that route down to the south. Innofunni has sieged once again. Sergeant Sub should be able to take that back, or rather, break that siege. Okay, spawning more units. Innofunni basically on the defensive right now, if we're looking at it. In terms of who has the initiative in this battle, absolutely is Sergeant Sub, as evidenced by the fact that he is going to break that siege and siege Innofunni's other city. So that really was a moment that changed the tide of battle in favor of Sergeant Sub right there. And quite frankly, folks, if I were a gambling man, I'd say this is pretty much over right now. Sergeant Sub has taken one of Innofunni's cities, is sieging the other one. Innofunni's economy is only 4 stars a turn, versus I believe that's 8 stars per turn over there with Sergeant Sub. And there it is. I think Innofunni is getting ready to resign. Yep, that he is, and that is GG's. I do not blame him. That was a very difficult position to come back from.